All right, guys, this is it. This is one of, if not the biggest draft weekend of the season, guys. I've got for you 5 massive fantasy football draft tips that'll really help you guys get light years ahead of the competition. Now, if you apply these tips properly, you will win your league, okay, guys? Now, it's very important you pay attention, get a notepad out, chill out, relax, whatever it is you're doing, but take these tips under consideration. And what I've done is I've actually, as I'm going through them, I'm going to give you practical examples for 2022 fantasy football, right? So it'll actually apply towards this year. So a very important video here, guys. Going to deep dive for you, give you a lot of value and a lot of content for you guys that are regulars here on YouTube. If you're not, if you guys want to win your leagues, make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button. If you're in the car, Spotify, please leave a 5-star rating review. It really helps the channel. If you are listening on Spotify or iTunes, leave that 5-star. Really helps you if you guys are getting value out of this. But I'm going to put a lot out here on the line for you guys to really, guys, give you guys that advantage because I want you guys to win. That's my mission. That's my passion. My goal when I got started with fantasy football was to actually help everybody win. So that's very important. So do leave the 5-star, click subscribe, leave a thumbs up. In the comments below, drop a question as well. I want to make this super informative. If you're in the car, go to the YouTube video of the version of this video, of this podcast, and drop a question. I'll try to get to as many as I possibly can. Trying to give you a ton of value here in this episode. Now, if you guys want the premium advice and all the answers in one spot, get the 16-round draft solution. I've linked it below. Sleepers, breakouts, optimal players drafted each round. Full video training and notes and a cheat sheet on all the players I love in each round, omitting all the guys that are going to bust based on my research, based on depth charts, based on opportunity, based on talent. Everything researched for you, 16 rounds. There's also a web-based app. I'll leave a link below, or it's all under programs at thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Get the 16-round plus and the 16-round draft solution, okay, guys? Amazing content. And if you guys want to get really serious and have a lifestyle with fantasy football, join the Patreon group. That's patreon.com/FFcounselor, where I show you guys all my leagues, and we're super interactive. Exclusive podcasts, live Q&As, patreon.com/FFcounselor. All right, let's dive into this, guys. First tip here, and I got to dive right into this and be straight up about it and talk about it because I think it's important that we talk about this. First one is don't follow the herd, okay? As you guys have seen, again, we're talking practical for this year. I was talking about Dameon Pierce back in May. I don't know if you guys knew that, but if you check out my Instagram, there's tons of videos. Well, there's a couple anyway, where I said stash Dameon Pierce, okay? The opportunity's there. Marlon Mack, years to wow us, we're not wowed. And I told you guys, stash him. Now, all of a sudden, he's had a couple, mini breakouts in preseason. Everyone's riding the Dameon Pierce train, right? Also, another thing when I say don't follow the herd is that they literally, guys, and I talk about this a lot in my videos, but I can't emphasize enough how much it's impacting everybody's lives, even people that listen to me, is they take last year's top finish and they tell you to draft them in that order. Like, I'll give you the example. Somebody just DM'd me and they said to me, Joe, is it a reach if I go Najee as my 3rd overall pick? And I'm going to say, no, it's not, because the mainstream and consensus have made you believe, and all the mock drafts that you're doing, is that Najee comes off later. So in your mind, you have engraved that Dalvin Cook comes ahead of Najee. It's not the case at all, guys. No, Najee has way more upside than Dalvin Cook. And I'm giving you an example. He has way more upside than Cooper Kupp. And yet Cooper Kupp is ingrained and engraved in everybody's mind this year that I've got to draft Cooper Kupp, top 4, top 5 pick. It doesn't work like that, guys, because Cooper Kupp will decline this year significantly, guys. I cannot emphasize it enough. If you take away nothing from this, go robust RB, which we'll get to in a second, and avoid Cooper Kupp, okay, guys? Because I don't see it. He could have a safe season, but I'm not investing a 1st-round pick on a guy that's coming off a pinnacle season. So everyone's telling you guys, draft Cooper Kupp round 1, draft Dalvin Cook round 1. They're giving you these copy and paste rankings, and just by default, or just because you're seeing that everyone else is doing it, you think it's the right thing to do, and it's not. It's just not going to help you win, okay? I never draft based on ADP or consensus rankings. You have to think outside the box. So that's massive tip number 1, because again, even though you think you're avoiding the consensus, you're still kind of drafting on ADP. Does that make sense? So a lot of people may have gone, let's say Dameon Pierce does break out, right? A month ago, people were drafting, let's say, a Miles Sanders or Antonio Gibson ahead of a Dameon Pierce, because Dameon Pierce was sitting 70th amongst running backs on the consensus rankings. Now he's sitting, I don't know where he's sitting, right? He's like up there now. He's like 30th or something like that. He's jumped up significantly, and he's come off as early as the 5th round. right? And there's a ton of other players that'll do that. It's just that you're just seeing Dameon Pierce. You're not seeing the other one. You're not seeing Alec Pierce, who's going to be a plug and play. You're not seeing the other sleepers, which again, I lay out in 16-round draft solution. You're not seeing that because you're just seeing the ADP. So do not follow the herd. That's the most important tip right here. Just think outside the box. Again, 16-round draft solution tells you how to do that. And again, use that code TUBE20, save yourself 20% on 16 rounds. Go pause the video, get that, because again, you'll be light years ahead of the competition. All right, tip number 2 here. Wait on wide receiver, go robust RB. And I just kind of talked about it and brushed up on it in tip number 1. But go robust or bust is a tip that I live by and I live and breathe by. Now, I just did a super flex league, just to give you an example here. And it's a super flex league. Everyone went quarterback heavy. They tend to do that in these super flex league. I wanted to push the envelope and see how far I can go with robust RB and then still manage to get quarterback. So my quarterbacks after going robust RB, and I'll tell you who my running backs are. I ended up getting Jared Goff in the 5th round, and I got Davis Mills as my other quarterback, and I got Kenny Pickett as my 3rd quarterback, who I think will take that job there. So even in a super flex league, you can push the robust RB and still get 3 decent quarterbacks. So I literally went Derrick Henry, listen to this, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, and then I went Jared Goff. And I still got wide receiver ones because there's a ton of depth at wide receiver. Guys, if you go robust RB, there's still Adam Thielen out there who could be the wide receiver one, right? And again, you're saying, why? Well, you're crazy, Joe. Well, Adam Thielen was on par with targets the first 9 weeks of the season with Jefferson. Jefferson only had 2 more targets than Thielen, and they were matched in touchdowns by the end of the season. And Thielen played like 3 or 4 less games. So Thielen's available. Darnell Mooney's a wide receiver one. You got Jerry Jeudy, who could be a wide receiver one. You've got Drake London. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's so many other wide receiver ones, and there's sleepers later that you can get after you've gone robust RB, okay, guys? And I explain all this again in the 16-round draft, so you can get it, guys. You'll be light years out of the competition. And what you're not seeing is anyone going 0 RB, anyone going wide receivers early, guys, is actually going to be in trouble because the running backs, you may get a Dameon Pierce and hit the jackpot. Great. But you're going to end up with your Myles Gaskins, your Antonio Gibsons, your Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, boom or bust. Again, you could hit a jackpot there, but you're taking a major risk. You're not securing your huge volume getters early. And then, because here's the deal with robust RB. You're getting those guys that are guaranteed the volume, right? You're loading up at a scarce position, and you're still getting wide receiver ones later. It doesn't reverse engineer that way. If you go wide receiver ones early, right, you're taking a risk, which I don't really like Tyreek Hill this year as a wide receiver one. I don't like Devontae Adams as a wide receiver one. You've got those guys early. Now you're looking at running backs who aren't the guaranteed, right? And you're missing out on all those wide receiver ones that I just mentioned earlier. Does that make sense? It just practically, logically, theoretically, everything leads towards loading up on that most scarce position. And there's only about 9 or 10 robust RBs that have that. They're going to carry that full workload. Other than that, it's a committee league. That's just how it works, okay? And in the NFL now, let's give an example here. You need a franchise quarterback to win your leagues, right? You need a Justin Herbert, a Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson caliber type quarterback to win and make it to the Super Bowl, right? You need a really good quarterback. I think that's similar, and that translates to fantasy. You really need that robust RB system. You need those workhorse running backs to win, because if you're stuck with guys or you're RB5, let's say you wait till an ATN, let's say he gets hurt, right? And you went 0 RB and you get ATN, he goes down, you've got no running backs, So again, robust or bust, okay? Tip number 3 here, be confident. I know this sounds common sense, but let me dive in here, okay? What I mean confidence is you've not followed the herd, right? You're thinking outside the box. You've gone robust RB. You've done your research. You've aimed high at the depth chart. You've got your 16-round draft solution. You've done a lot of mock drafts, and you can anticipate. So you're in a draft, and you're in round 5, and let's say you really wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, you've gone robust, and Amon-Ra's gone. Well, you've got a backup. Oh, Mooney's there. Okay, that's cool. I kind of still like Mooney. He's still high on the depth chart, like him, right? So you've actually got a backup plan. So you're super confident because you've done enough mock drafts. You've gotten 16 rounds. You've gotten the 16 rounds plus draft tool. Now, the 16-round draft plus draft tool, right? You can also get it under programs on my website, right? That's actually going to give you guys a lot more variables. It's going to give you guys whether the guy's in a contract year. It's going to give you a counselor selected pick, whether I actually prefer him. It's going to give you whether he's a reach in that route. It's going to give you all that extra data. If you click on him, it's going to give you 250 top players, data points, stats, information, how long they've been with that offensive coordinator, a ton of insights. So again, go under programs under my website and get the 60-round plus tool, right? 60 round plus. It's going to give you that extra added insight, and you can open that up and you can cater it to your draft. It's amazing. So having these tools, doing your research, being confident, doing a lot of mock drafts, you're able to anticipate. And if you do actually get sniped in a draft, if your player gets picked off, guess what? You have a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan. So confidence is key. This is a massive tip, all right? Tip number 4 here, guys, balance your roster with upside and security. Now, fantasy football, there's no such thing as security. All you could do is, try to draft the best possible player based on talent, based on the opportunity, based on depth chart, based on how much volume you project they're going to get. A lot of it is subjective, but I go up and above and I do extra research and I anticipate and I look at all the data points and I look at to see if that player is primed for volume and talent and opportunity. That's how I pick up all these breakouts before the Concheapsis do, right? So you got to have a balance though, right? Because I talk about the sneaky 7 in my solution. You got to have your sneaky 7 picks, your robust RB and ace quarterback, couple wide receivers. You got to have your sneaky 7 in place as a foundation. Those, solid workhorse guys and girls, guys, right? You get the solid workhorse guys early, right? I'm trying to say guys and girls, listen to me. You got to get those solid workhorse guys, right? And basically have those guys as a foundation, and then you can swing for the fences later. Does that make sense, guys? So what I'm trying to say to you is this. You got to swing for the fences and take some risks on some picks later on. Do you know what I'm saying? You got to get those upside guys. Your Alec Pierce home run hit at wide receiver or someone like that. Your Sky Moores, your Isaiah Pacheco's, right? Those guys that you think could break out, your Tyler Algiers, right? Maybe, who knows, right? Cordell Patterson, who knows, right? You get those guys later, but after you've got your solid foundation. So it's a balanced roster of security and massive upside, and you're going to be in good shape because that's how you're going to win your leagues. If you play safe all the time, you're not going to win. And so many people say, well, I'm going to wait later. I'm going to get myself years. It was that James White pick, right? I always use James White as a safety guy. I'd rather take my risk on which again, now they're on to him, but a Dameon Pierce later, he was coming off later, who was a home run, then get like a Myles Gaskin or someone that's going to be boring and safe later, right? So you don't want that, guys. You want to get those upside rookies even later on, balance your roster with upside and security. And the last one here, I've kind of brushed up on it while I was talking here, but this is very important, guys, is aim high on the depth chart. Again, going back to that example, I'd rather have a guy that could potentially be the RB1 on their team, or a wide receiver 1 or 2 on their team, like a Treylon Burks, right? He's a late round home run hit because A.J. Brown was coming off top 10 last year. They brought in Treylon Burks with high draft capital, the first wide receiver they drafted off the board, the Titans did, right? I'd rather have him than, let's say, I don't know who's even going at his current ADP. Let's say a Corey Davis or someone like a guy that has had years to wow. Give me a guy that could potentially, or first of all, aim high on the depth chart. So make sure you're aiming high on the depth chart early on, but later on even aim high and see those guys that could potentially be the wide receiver 1s. Does that make sense here, guys? So again, a perfect example as well as Juju this year. You're saying you're aiming high on the depth chart, but are you? You're spending higher draft capital on a Juju around 5, 6, 7, wherever he's coming off, depending on how many people are in your league. Do I go Juju? I'm not really sure that he's high on the depth chart because I think there's a guy named Sky Moore there that could emerge. They've got Mecole Hardman, who's had that rapport there with Pat Mahomes. So I'm going to aim high on the depth chart later with Mecole Hardman, and then a fade of Juju because I'm not sure that Juju's high on that depth chart. I'm not 100% sure he's going to be the one. So again, does that make sense? And earlier on, what I'm saying is, aim high on depth chart. I like Breece Hall. I know they're saying Michael Carter is going to be the one, but I still think Breece Hall is going to be the one, right? Saquon Barkley. Who's the running back behind Saquon Barkley? I don't know. I don't care because I'm aiming high on depth chart. Derrick Henry. Who's the running back behind him? They drafted Haskins, right? Is he going to be the guy? I'm aiming high on depth chart. I'm going Derrick Henry, right? Always aim high on depth chart, especially with wide receiver. I see a perfect example here. Everyone's going T. Higgins. I'd rather have Michael Pittman because he's higher on his depth chart, on his respective depth chart. T. Higgins is a wide receiver 2. There's no way I would draft a wide receiver 2 in the 3rd round. Just doesn't. I don't function like that. I look at it, and again, can he pass Chase? Maybe, but I highly doubt it. Can Waddle pass Tyreek Hill? In this case, maybe. Too many question marks, right? But I'm not spending a 4th round pick on Jalen Waddle with Tyreek there because Tyreek Hill theoretically is the wide receiver 1. So why would I spend there's so many other wide receiver 1s in the 4th round. I'm aiming high on the depth chart. I'm not going to get a Waddle. He's not high on depth. He's theoretically the 2, theoretically. So just because I don't know, he could be the 1. I'm not taking that risk, okay? aim high on the depth chart, guys. You'll be very, very happy with those picks. All right. Don't follow the herd. Wait on wide receiver, guys. Go robust or bust. That's tip number 2. Be confident. Be confident. Anticipate. Don't get sniped. Getting 16 rounds, you're going to be light years out of the competition. Do a lot of mock drafts. Balance your roster, upside, and get some home runs later, right? Upside home runs, and then make sure those secure picks, volume getters are drafted earlier with the sneaky 7 formula. And again, aim high on the depth chart, right? Don't settle for wide receiver 2s early in your draft, or RB2s, or whatever it may be. Aim high on the depth chart, you will be solid, all right? 5 massive tips. Again, nobody talks about this. What they tell you is like, hey, guys, draft based on ADP. These are the last finishers from last year. Let's photocopy it over to this year. Draft them in that order. That's BS thinking. And then occasionally when someone breaks out, oh, I'm going to draft this guy. He's a waiver wire week 1 wonder. I was telling you guys about this in 16 rounds. What do you mean he's a waiver wire wonder? I knew about this guy, right? So if you guys want to be light years out of the competition, the programs are below. Get in, guys. Hope to see you in the community. And I want to see you guys in the Patreon group, patreon.com/FFcounselor. Join the front lines. Listen, I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Good luck with your drafts. This is going to give you a massive edge. All right, guys? Appreciate you. Go dominate. Lion mentality. I'm out.